So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us outside and maintaining social distancing as we continue to provide updates. I'm joined today by Commissioner Pete Meitzner to help give us some updates on the current COVID-19 situation and where we're at as a community. I do want to acknowledge that the County Commission is really the ones in a driver's seat when it comes to dealing with a healthcare crisis such as this pandemic, and the city, we're in a passenger seat. We play a partner role, so we're very fortunate to have the chair of the County Commission joining us to give us that information that is going to be the most relevant information. So the Board of County Commissioners and the county staff are doing a great job keeping our community informed. The county commissioners oversee the Board of Health, and we're grateful that they've been proactive in issuing a stay-at-home order to ensure that our community can flatten the curve. We're actually, and I'll let the commissioner mention this, but I think that we are actually, because of their fast action, in a better situation now than a lot of other comparable communities. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about the City Council meetings. Just a couple of reminders that while we are making changes to the meetings during the pandemic, we want to still get your feedback. As you might have learned from the last meeting, we are not allowing more than 10 people in a room, and that is for the safety of our staff, our council members, and also the public. However, we are asking that residents with questions or comments relevant to the council agenda to type them in on the chat feature on YouTube. We are broadcasting these live on YouTube, so we would like you to interact with us that way. Our clerk will actually read the questions, and you can get feedback just like you would if you went to the podium. So you can participate by emailing us as well, questions or concerns or comments to the council, and you can do that at wichita.gov. So wichita.gov, you'll find the email, and you can send in your questions. We have just a reminder to give your name, address, and which agenda item you want to comment on, followed by your comments, or if you want to speak to us directly, your phone number, and we'll make sure to call you back. And as I said, the clerk will be the one reading your comments. So, all right, I guess I got to give you an update on the burn ban, which they told me I need to put in here. We know many people are at home getting some home projects done, and with the recent nice weather, perhaps work in a yard. However, we discourage anyone from burning their fire pits or burning yard waste, as we are currently in a burn ban. To comply with the regulations of the Wichita Fire Department, we enforce an open burn ban during April. Effective April 1st, no new burn permits will be issued, and all previous issued burn permits will be suspended until at least May 1st. Live fire training will also be suspended during this time. The ban does not include grills, ceremonial fires, or agricultural burning. The burn ban was put in place to address concerns that smoke from the Flint Hills burning impacts cities by increasing ozone levels, specifically in Wichita. Too many fires could cause us to violate regulations set by the Environmental Protections Agency, so we do want to limit those amount of fires. So in addition, there's the financial impacts to high ozone levels can present risks to our public health as well. All right, so now with that, I want us to get a update on COVID-19. So again, we will welcome the chair of the Sedgwick County Commissioner, Pete Meitzner, who's joining us today to give us those updates. Pete.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all again for joining, for covering all of this. I'm reminded on the burn ban in past years, we get complaints, but the Flint Hills, the state has done a smart burn, is what they call it, and that's why we don't see the forest fires and the huge fires that other states have, because they do these controlled burns for these cattle fields in the Flint Hills, and it's a problem with the air quality for a little while, but it saves a lot. So just to echo a comment on that. Based on the actions that were taken yesterday, the Kansas legislature revoked Governor Kelly's executive order number 20-18, which extends the ban on public gatherings of 10 or more people. With that, with regards to public gatherings, residents are to follow Sedgwick County's local order, which began March 25th. This order specifically limits all public gatherings to groups of 10 or fewer people. The order is in place until April 23rd. Residents are also under the governor's stay-at-home order, which began Monday, March 30th, unless it is for essential needs such as grocery shopping, doctors, veterinary appointments, and caring for family members. Essential businesses, including grocery stores, hospitals, health facilities, government facilities, daycare centers, etc., businesses deemed non-essential are not allowed to be open to the public. This order is in place until April 19th. So, an update on the virus statistics. Our Johns Hopkins is who we're using for our information. It's the most current. It's what's been used federally. So Johns Hopkins reports this morning, Kansas now has 1,051 cases of COVID-19. Sedgwick County has increased to a total of 154 cases. So as a state, we're now over 1,000. In Sedgwick County, a total of 29 people have recovered from the COVID-19, and 2 people have now died. This week is also, as a side note, is National Public Health Week. It seems very fitting that we recognize our work of our health department and our that they do day in and day out to try to keep this community safe. They are focused obviously on the disease or the virus, and most of the department is focused on keeping our residents safe by monitoring and tracking the disease in our community. As a reminder, residents are encouraged to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 by staying at home, practicing social distancing that you all know about, the 6-foot rule, washing your hands often, covering your nose and mouth when you cough or sneeze, limiting public gatherings to 10 or fewer. If residents have questions about COVID-19 or think they should be tested, again, please call the United Way of the Plains at 211, and they will give you a series of questions and determine if you should be tested. We're still trying to get more. We're trying to expand our testing equipment. Hopefully we'll have some news on that any day, so we can expand that. If you have concerns about non-essential businesses still operating, you can call Sedgwick County at 660-9000 or email us at stayathomefaq at sedgwick.gov. Or you can submit a violation form at sedgwickcounty.org also. All of these strategies and everything we're doing right now is intended to moderate the spread. Mayor mentioned earlier, we got an early start on it. We continue to talk to our expert medical people, including the chairs and the CEOs of our hospitals, and they are A, thankful that we started the stay-at-home early, and B, they're very pleased that the community is practicing stay-at-home and spacing as much as possible, and C, they asking us to please continue to drive that message home. We're just now entering into the critical stages, and we need to do this. It's April 8th, 9th. We need to do this for the next 2 to 3 weeks. We've got to get through April, and now is going to be the critical time where you're going to see stuff happening. So again, we're working together, working with the city, working with everybody in the county, and working with the state, and please try to stay at home as best you can, and thank you to the citizens, and thank you all of the people that are working together to keep our citizens safe. So thank you. With that, back to the mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Got your mask. So the next person we're going to introduce is they're going to talk about this Easter weekend. As in many of our community, we typically see a lot of people gathering in parks. Here to talk about the Easter weekend and to give us some precautions, we like to urge while enjoying our parks is the Parks and Recreation Director, Troy Hotman. Troy's with us.
I am. I'm right here.
There you go, Troy.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, and thank you very much for having me. Our mission of the Parks and Recreation Department is to bring people together. We have special events, we have our rec centers and programs, and guess what? We haven't been able to do any of that lately, and it's just been driving us crazy. But the silver lining is that we've been seeing a lot of people coming to our parks, and the way I can tell is that they've been leaving a lot of their trash for us to pick up. However, it's a great thing, and we're hoping that the momentum will continue when this is over. But this weekend is Easter weekend, very much historically our busiest weekend. We'll have folks coming out to the parks, having barbecues and picnics and having Easter egg hunts and cascarones, that's the eggshells filled with confetti. So what Commissioner Meitzner was talking about was having that situation where we don't want people more than 10 convening in the park. And we also want to really encourage people to do their social distancing at the park as well. So just be aware of those things, be respectful of other folks, be respectful of the folks that are trying to get some fresh air, but be reminded that we are trying to discourage folks from 10 or more having meetings at the parks. So a couple of other things in regards to parks. Remember that the playgrounds are closed, as well as the bathrooms and as well as the dog parks. And the main reason for that is there's so many touch points there. There's a lot of opportunity there for COVID-19 to spread from just different touch points, and we're not able to disinfect those areas as well. In fact, with only staff of about 15, because we have so many folks that are on furlough, I only have about 15 people that take care of our 140 parks. So those are the reasons why those areas are closed. One other item I wanted to bring up was Nafsker Park. We were actually fortunate enough to finish the park, but the day that we were going to open it was the day that we had the stay-at-home order. So we haven't been able to do much programming there, but the skateboarders, they found the park. And this is just a message to your friends that skateboard, or anybody that you know that are skateboarding. It's actually illegal to skateboard downtown. And unfortunately, they've actually created some damage to the brand new park. So there is actually a skateboard park 5 blocks away underneath Kellogg on St. Francis. It's a great place. I've been there a couple times with my bicycle. It's just a fun place to hang out. If there's less than 10 people there, it's a great place for these guys to go skateboard. Lastly, I just want to wrap up by saying, we've been hugely impacted by this, but our staff, the remaining of our staff, have been looking at opportunities this summer to get back into our normal operations. Hopefully we get to open up the pools. Hopefully we get to open up our rec centers. We are definitely going to be collaborating with folks like Riverfest, with the Chamber and some other folks on events this summer. So hopefully we can continue celebrating our 150th birthday, which we've had a lot of plans for, but we still want to continue doing some celebration when this is all over. So although it's a little bit of a downer right now, we definitely have the enthusiasm, and we're looking at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully we could get there and do some great things to get back to normal. So just remember your social distancing in the park. Remember that you can't have more than 10 people congregating at the park as well. But please enjoy the parks because they are still open. Any questions, I'm here for those. All right, Mayor.
So we're getting towards the end. I do have one thing I want to talk about, and it's really about how, as a community, Wichita has come together and not just put ourselves forward, but put our neighbors forward, and by accepting social distancing, by taking the best precautions. And what this has done is allowed our medical community to not be overwhelmed, to actually have a chance of fighting this off so we can save more lives. And we want to recognize them with a light up blue. So I'm excited to announce that City Hall will be lighting up blue to show support for our emergency responders, medical professionals, and frontline workers keeping our community safe during this crisis. There's no way we can fully express our gratitude for everyone working through this pandemic, but this is one way we can shine a light on their hard work. It's a fun, easy way to join together, even while we're physically apart. Anyone with LED technology or the ability to light up blue is encouraged to join us. We will go blue at 8 p.m. tonight until the end of the stay-home order. We've already gotten word that Wesley Medical Center will be lighting up blue, and we encourage anyone else to share their photos on social media with the hashtag #LightItBlue and the hashtag #MakeItBlue. Those hashtags are national. There are other communities doing this as well. This is just a very small way that we can show our medical community how much we appreciate them and show some solidarity moving forward as a community, as we have been doing, facing this head on. We can join others across the country by lighting up blue, and we'd ask you to join us with that as well. With that, I'll be happy to take questions.
We've had some folks emailing the newsroom concerned that the city is a lot of talk and not a lot of action, pointing specifically to the lighted up blue versus the masks that are going out to city workers, which they define as a shop towel with a couple of rubber bands stapled to it.
That's fair. Listen, we are encouraging people to make their own masks, to get masks. If you don't have a mask, you can have for free the mask I wear, which is the one I walked out with, which is a shop towel, probably a shop towel with some rubber bands put on. Some of our employees actually volunteered to make those. So, we're in a situation where masks are in short supply, and it wouldn't be responsible for us to go out and take the type of masks that medical professionals need. So we're using what we have. And, when it comes to being a lot of talk and not a lot of action, the reality is I think there's a disconnect on what we can do as a city versus what the county commission does, or versus what the governor does. I get a lot of feedback because the Department of Labor is now overwhelmed. And as mayor, people want me to help them navigate through, the Kansas Department of Labor's website for unemployment benefits. And the reality is, that falls outside the lane of being mayor. But it shows that we have an opportunity, I think, to pass along information about what are the responsibilities of each level of government and what's our lane, and how can we work together to keep our community safe during this time. So, when it comes to Wichita employees, we have a skeleton crew. Our city hall is closed to people who don't have business there. I get my temperature checked every day when I come in. If anyone's temperature has a temperature, they're asked to leave. We have had volunteers make hundreds, if not thousands, of masks to help keep people safe. The reality is, essential government functions still have to go on. We have people who, if a pipe breaks, they need to be able to call and get it fixed. If someone is a victim of domestic violence, we got to make sure that we provide them services and protect that individual. So there are some stuff that government has to keep moving on. We have a service and a responsibility to provide that to our citizens, while also doing everything we can to keep people safe.
On that, about the lanes of this is my job, this is the county's job,
Yep.
the state's job. A lot of small businesses trying to get the new loans from the federal government through the SBA and running into problems with that. Have you been hearing about that at all? What can the city do, if anything?
So one of the things that we've done from the beginning of this is, while the Sedgwick County Commission, who serves as the health board, has been on the front lines of the policy and implementing the policy for this, we have been filling in the gap when it comes to providing the other services. To your question about small business information and trying to make sense out of the federal, the federal bill that was passed, and also some of the state resources that the governor early on signed in, we reached out to the Wichita Chamber of Commerce and asked them to be the front person on putting this information out there and to get it out to the business community, since they're one of the organizations that represent that community. They have created a spot on their website, which is it's wonderful actually, where they really have put the federal, the state, and I think some of the local stuff that are resources for our small businesses. So I'd ask people to go to their website. It's the Wichita Chamber of Commerce, and navigate over to where those resources are. In the same lane, I guess, we met with the leadership, the city did, or I did, with United Way, where, okay, well, what is the role of the nonprofit community and those who want to make contributions, rather of food, of toilet paper, of volunteer time? How do we coordinate those efforts? And the United Way is our nonprofit partner in this. They stepped up to the plate. They're used to dealing with, just really crisis situations, and they're the nonprofit side where are getting that information out. So I do want to add that if there are people who need nonprofit services, to call 211. If you're a small business looking for business resources, please look at the Wichita Chamber of Commerce website. And if you're an individual who received a stimulus check or still are in a position to utilize money buying stuff, please go to ICTresponse.com, where there is a list of small businesses in Wichita and with links to them so you can buy gift certificates and services to keep them afloat during this tough time.
Have you been hearing from small businesses struggling to access the federal loans?
Have I personally? Not quite. Where normally people asking for money, for information on how to access federal loans, my job is to direct them to those resources. So usually after I kind of tell them that the mayor's office doesn't administer the federal loans, these are the places you can go for that information. Usually they go to those places and find that information. I've been inundated more with people who are having problems with the unemployment. So I've been in touch with the Secretary of Labor and their system, I think, was created in the 70s. Like, they are just doing everything they can to try to process the unemployment claims. That's been the majority of what people have been contacting me about. And I just, on that topic, I guess, just want to plug that they are asking everyone to utilize the website if you are a native English speaker and you have access to the internet. If you don't have access to the internet, then please use the telephones, or if you're someone who's not a native English speaker, you can call and use the telephones. What they're trying to avoid is people who could utilize the online services tying up the telephones. So we're all in this together. That's just one thing that I want to put out there is, if the website's down, as it was earlier this week, I reached out to Secretary Garcia. She said they were fixing it the next day. Please be patient. They are trying to navigate what is literally the most historical rush for unemployment benefits in our nation's history. And they're doing so with, I think, decades-old technology, and they're doing their best, and we're going to get through this. We just gotta work together. Other questions? Go ahead.
Pete, actually.
Okay.
Obviously, a big emphasis put on Sedgwick County's stay-at-home order. Sedgwick County's 10-person limit is still in place.
Yes.
Was it damaging to have the statewide limit lifted?
Well, Sedgwick County, we did our stay-at-home order, which included the however many people, 10 people or less. I think where the struggle was, I think the governor had done an order originally and exempted some things. She did an order at stay at home, and then she did another order on mass gatherings. So the one yesterday that was rescinded was about the mass gatherings. So in the stay at home order part of the governor, which is in place, we do not have, the local Dr. Minns does not have a flexibility to make changes to that. But on the mass gatherings order, she put in there, on the original one back, as it's called 2014, that exempted the churches and things like that. In that, it allowed local communities to further restrict if they wanted to. They couldn't expand it, but it was already exempted. So that's kind of where the confusion is. So our Dr. Minns order includes gatherings of 10 or less. So that's what we are encouraging. I might comment that I don't think that this coronavirus, I don't think there's a Democrat virus and a Republican virus, but it kind of gets that way a little bit federally and obviously at the state level. And we're just trying to do what's reasonable. Our churches are, the bishop, I'm Catholic, the Bishop of He's already indicated that they'll start masses and services when they're ready, which is right. They can still do something up to 10. Many of our churches here in the Wichita area they're well aware. We're just doing what's reasonable. The right thing to do is to avoid mass gatherings and to stay, the 6 feet apart and things like that. So it's just reason needs to come into this at some point. And thank you to our citizens, they've been doing that.
Is there any concern that with the Attorney General's comments about it being unconstitutional under the state constitution to enforce that 10-person limit on churches, that there might be some issues that arise out of that here? Or have trouble enforcing it here in Sedgwick?
I haven't heard of one. There's been some national church First Amendment world doing that have gotten some conflict with their local authorities. We haven't had that yet. Don't expect it. I think even the only time that I know of that our local police department went out was a pretty big gathering for an auction or something like that, and they didn't arrest anybody. They didn't issue any citations. They came out and educated and understood, and it got dispersed. So I assume if something like that happens, we've had calls about trying to do a speaker, loudspeaker service and have cars parked and drive and listen to. Okay, well, is that not reasonable? They're in their cars, turn on the radio maybe if that's what it is. So I mean, there's a lot of reasoning that can happen. We're kind of a Christian-based community anyway, and I'm hopeful that everybody is okay with that.
I'll just add, for those of us on social media, also, I'm Episcopal, and our bishop has also made I think a similar declaration that about public gatherings. I think as a parish, any one of us members would be heartbroken if the gathering, if someone was sick among us and didn't know it, and the gathering actually resulted in a death of people within our parish. I know we've had one woman who's no longer in Wichita, wonderful person who has succumbed to the coronavirus and has passed on. So I just echo what the commissioner says, where this is about staying safe, and it's a frustrating time. However, weeks ago, as like I said, part of my lane in being mayor, while the commission focuses on the implementation of policy, of health policy, my job is to help the community get through this. I was able to get on the phone with multiple faith leaders, and if you are someone who's on social media and you utilize either Twitter or Facebook, if you go to the hashtag ICT Together, every week for the last 3 weeks, they have people who have been uploading their church service, where they will still have service, and they will either go Facebook Live with it, or they'll record it on YouTube and post it. We have asked them, and most have done this, to use the hashtag ICT Together, which is a place where, while we're apart physically, the community can come together and partake in worship services of different faiths. So we still have the opportunity to get together for faith services, but we could do so online. So ICT Together is, if you click on it or type it in, you will find a large display of people, of churches who are offering their services. Are there any other questions? See none. Thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate you all being here, and appreciate seeing the mass and everyone being safe. We'll see you guys next week.